We're a month out from the greatest show on turf, the Longines Hong Kong International Races, and already the pieces of the puzzle are starting to come together. Here's what we've got coming up for you on Hong Kong Direct, and we'll go down memory lane with Michael Kinane about his past HKIR experiences. We're going to be learning more about Singapore's latest superstar, Inferno, who's potentially coming to Hong Kong. Plus, we'll be paying tribute to last year's Hong Kong sprint winner, Beat the Clock, who retired from racing earlier this week. Hello, I'm Edward Sadler. It's terrific to have your company on Hong Kong Direct this week, coming to you a little bit earlier as we approach Saturday racing at Sha Tin. And it's a pleasure to welcome back to the show Senior Racing Advisor to the Racing Club in Hong Kong, Daryl Anderson. Daryl, thanks for rejoining us on Hong Kong Direct.
G'day, Ed. Thanks for having me. Nice to be back.
Already been a busy week in the racing scene here. Daryl, Wednesday night, Sky Darcy was the highlight performer on the night. He looks a pretty promising horse.
Yeah, he was good, wasn't he? I mean, the market and form suggested he was the good thing of the night. He was only up, I think, about 7 pounds on his previous win. He was better drawn. He had that run under his belt. He looked the good thing of the night, and he duly delivered. He was very good the last furlong or so.
He was indeed. So he's 2 from 2 this season and will potentially head towards the Classic Series for the 4-year-olds next year. As far as the riders are concerned, riding honours on the night went to Karis Teeton, a treble. So on wins, he's level in the jockey's title with Zach Purton.
Yeah, very competitive up the top. And of course, Joe was back from suspension on Wednesday night as well. And although we saw Matthew Poon have a nasty fall, all reports are that he's doing pretty well. So yeah, good night's action at the Valley on Wednesday night.
More from Daryl Anderson here in the studio at Sha Tin shortly, but as mentioned, our special guest, and it's a real pleasure to have him joining us via Skype, legend of the turf, Michael Kinane from his home in Ireland. Michael, thank you so much for joining us here on Hong Kong Direct this week.
Thank you, it's a pleasure.
Michael, when you look back on your riding career, we'll get on to what you're doing these days later on in the interview, but when you look back on your riding career, for much of it, Hong Kong was like a second home for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was indeed. I had spent sort of 5 years doing 6 months, and then came back very regularly on the winter times.
And what was it that kept bringing you back here to Hong Kong racing?
The Hong Kong racing, just the speed of it, the competitiveness, it sort of kept me right up there when I come back into Europe, and it I just felt it kept me good, kept me sharp.
Let's look back at some of the highlights then from your time riding in Hong Kong, and we'll go back to the early 90s, to Additional Risk. At that time, yourself and Dermot Weld were plundering all these international rich races like the Melbourne Cup with Vintage Crop and a Belmont Stakes in America as well. What do you remember, though, of Additional Risk's 1991 Hong Kong Bowl, of course, the race that's now become the Hong Kong Mile?
Yeah, well, we drew a bad barrier, I think 13, I think. But I knew I had a good horse for it. He was an ideal horse, hold-up horse, so the draw wasn't as bad as it looked. We gave him a big chance, and he won really well.
Must have been a special time in your career, those early 90s and the Belmont Stakes, the Melbourne Cup. You and Dermot Weld were really pioneers of those early days of international racing, weren't you?
Yeah, Dermot was the real start of all that travel. That's the new norm. But Dermot has fantastic vision, and got to the art of travel very early, and mastered it fantastically.
Let's fast forward in time then to the early 2000s, to 2002, to be specific. Big win on the international stage for you, for the locals as well too, with Precision in the 2002 Hong Kong Cup. At a big price that day as well, and upstaging a global superstar at that time in Grand Era.
Yeah, he was a sort of a bit of a bridesmaid's horse, and decided to do it all on the biggest day. Wasn't in front, a stride before or for our stride after, and it gave David Norton and I a great job.
And on the line then, so you thought you had it on the line because, of course, you fought out that finish with the German galloper, Paolini.
Yes, it was a tight call, but fortunately, winning is not everything. Everything is the only thing.
Certainly worked out very well that day. I know it wasn't on International Day, but 2007, April 2007, QE2 Cup Day, Champions Mile Day, you completed the double with two horses from John Moore's stable, and Able One and Viva Pataka. Was that one of the best days you ever had on a racecourse in Hong Kong?
Oh yeah, undoubtedly. It was just a fantastic weekend for me. I had bred a Derby winner and ridden in the Derby on the Saturday, and turned up in Hong Kong on Sunday, and brought up that great double.
Yeah,
fantastic day.
That's incredible. Viva Pataka, he's one of the champions of Hong Kong racing. Was he the best horse that you sat on in your time riding in Hong Kong, Michael?
Ah, yeah. He was a lovely horse to ride. Lovely sound, loved his racing. Had a fantastic turn of foot. He was a nice horse to ride.
So we've gone from the early 90s when you first came to Hong Kong to the late 2000s. And of course, you're still a part of the Hong Kong racing industry these days. How has it developed through your association in Hong Kong?
Well, I've always, even since I stopped riding, I've always spent time in Hong Kong, and help keep my relationships. And out of the blue, I got a phone call already to would I be interested in fronting up a team to buy for the 2019 season. And I was happy to take it on board. Nice project.
Yes, it's great to have you part of that project, of course, part of the buying team then for the international sale that we have here in Hong Kong. Of the horses that you've sourced for that sale, that you've bought from the big sales in the UK and in Europe, are there any ones that you really like that we should be following when they do get over to Hong Kong?
Well, we have a nice batch of horses at the moment. They're being pre-trained and sorting through them, trying to get them better prepared to stand up to the vigours of Hong Kong training. And I'll be hopeful that we'll have a nice batch to come in early next year.
That'd be great to see. Michael, we really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us here via Skype, of course, from your home in Ireland. Hopefully we get to catch up with you when these COVID times are past in person here in Hong Kong. Thank you very much for joining us on the show today.
Okay, you're welcome.
Special thanks to Michael Kinane for joining us on Hong Kong Direct. So from Skype, we go back to the studio and to Daryl Anderson. Daryl, we just heard from Michael about his memorable HKR moments. As a proud Kiwi, what's yours?
Yeah, I think it's probably pretty obvious, Ed, but yeah, lots of moments over the years, the likes of Silent Witness and Good Barber, Able Friend, and more recently Beauty Generation, but yeah, hard to beat this one. The Mayor of the World against the Horse of Hong Kong, and what a description from David Raphael.
Yeah, it was a super call from him. Really gets the hairs on the back of your neck standing up. She was a super mare with 2 Cox Plates amongst a lot of other big race wins in Australia. Obviously, a Kiwi mare won big races in the land of the long white cloud. won here in Hong Kong in that memorable race 20 years ago now, and also raced with credit in Dubai. So she was a terrific ambassador, if you like, Darryl, for the New Zealand racing industry at that time, wasn't she?
Yeah, absolutely. And I was lucky enough to see her on track at Te Rapa one day, and what a crowd there was at the races, because not only did she turn up, but Rod Stewart and his then wife, supermodel Rachel Hunter. I remember the Cox plates fondly, particularly the last one. And as you said, you know, her subsequent trips around various parts of the world, including Hong Kong, were absolutely magic.
She was a marvellous mare, and she rightly belongs in the history of international racing here in Hong Kong. We're going to talk about this year's international meeting after the break. Plus, we'll look ahead to the best of Saturday's action at Sha Tin. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with you on Hong Kong Direct very soon.